Hey guys, this is undercoverdudes all the way from Down Under, and today I have some Combat Arms gameplay of the new graphics update. Now before I start, this is an in-development build. The gameplay you're seeing right now will not be the same gameplay that you guys will go and see when you try it out later on in the future. The whole graphics will probably be changed significantly. Before I go and forget, I'm doing a giveaway right now for some graphics update beta keys. If you guys want to go and check out the giveaway, it will be in the description below. A ton of ways to go and enter, but let's get right into the breakdown. This video will be split into 3 parts. First, I'll talk about the positives of the graphics update, then I'll talk about the negatives of the graphics update, and then third, I'll go and talk about the graphic settings that I am using for this update. Now, the positives of this update is, well, there's a lot of potential. I have to say potential is a word that really goes and describes this update quite well. The shadows are spectacular. Like, I harp on about shadows, but I think it's a pivotal gameplay component for any first-person shooter, and Nexon, they have really gone and hit quite hard in the shadows department, and it works quite well. We were complaining about hard and soft shadows, and that's been fixed to an extent, and overall it is a significant improvement over what we have right now. Textures is also something that has gone and been improved significantly, especially on the crane. If you guys can go and see, there is a lot more detail. Overall, the map has a lot more detail, and I don't notice it while I'm playing in game, but looking back at the footage, it definitely is noticeable. There is a lot more detail in, let's say, the grating on the ground, or the walls, or the signs and whatever. There is a lot more detail, and I have to say that is really nice to go and mention. The blinding aspect that we saw from early gameplay footage, that can be basically eliminated with a certain setting. I'll talk about that later on. Light rays look nice, and overall, the map looks more vibrant, and I think that goes and gives Combat Arms a bit more personality. So yeah, potential should be a word that is brought up when talking about the graphics update, but this update is also unpolished. It is not finished, and there is a lot of work that really needs to be done. I'm not going to go and talk about performance very much because it varies from system to system. Some people getting great frame rates, some people getting terrible frame rates. I'm personally getting like middle of the pack. I think in this footage I was getting like 80 frames per second, but again, it is early days, it's an early beta, and I expect optimizations when the full build is released. Now, with all of that said, I want to go and talk about elements that they deliberately put into the game and that I think should be fixed. And bugs and whatnot, and crashing and whatnot, I don't want to talk about that because that's stuff that they haven't consciously put in, of course, and that should be fixed in the future. I think my biggest complaint about this graphics update right now is the fact that you're basically at a competitive disadvantage, a very big disadvantage compared to people that are running the old graphics engine. The reason why? The dark areas are very dark, and the bright areas are very bright. And this difference is extremely distracting, and also it makes enemies blend in really easy to the environment. When you compare it to the old Combat Arms engine, on that engine, it is very easy to go and spy out enemies, even across, let's say, Snow Valley or across Oil Rig. Very easy to go and spot people because enemies just naturally go and stand out. In this update, of course it's more realistic because if somebody's in shadow, they're going to go and blend in more, but who's going to go and use an engine where they're at a disadvantage? Of course it looks nice, of course it's more realistic, but Nexon needs to go and turn down that effect. And I think what I just said then, they have to go and turn it down, is something that they have to go and apply across the whole graphics update. They have to go and turn down basically every single effect they've gone and implemented. It seems like they've gone and implemented all of these effects, and then they've just got carried away, and they're like, alright, we're going to go and chuck everything up to 15 to make the game look as cool as possible. But it goes and really sacrifices the gameplay. It seems like the Nexon developers, they're trying to go and rival Counter-Strike Global Offensive and Call of Duty in the graphics department, and that is basically impossible in my opinion. The Nexon developers have gone and claimed that this graphics update will bring Combat Arms up to an Unreal 4 standard. In my opinion, that can't be done. I'm hoping I can be proved wrong. I'm hoping I can be proved wrong. But I think that Nexon is going into this graphics update with the wrong mentality. They're trying to go and rival all these AAA games in terms of the graphics department when I don't think it can be done. What shines about Combat Arms is its gameplay and its community and its maps and its modes and its guns. That's what really goes and shines, and the fact that it can be a competitive game as well. I think this graphics update should go and complement the strengths of Combat Arms, because at the moment, this graphics update is trying to go and steal the limelight. It's trying to go and say, wow, I'm the thing that really goes and makes this game great, when it's obviously not, because when you compare it to all its rivals, Combat Arms is at the bottom of the list because its graphics are really not that good. They're not bad, but they're not good in comparison to, let's say, Battlefield 1, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, Call of Duty and whatnot. It just doesn't go and win. Go and give this game a bit of a paint job. Make it look a little bit nicer. Redo all the textures, that'd be great. The textures are looking quite good, as I said before. But ditch all the gimmicky shit like motion blur and all these really powerful light rays. Nobody's going to care about that. And all you're going to go and do is just repel all these new players that are just going to go and get distracted and not really realize that the whole reason people play Combat Arms is because it's a fast-paced first-person shooter. Not because of the graphics that Nexon have been hyping up oh so much. Let the graphics update be a little bit of a hook, and then reel them in with the matchmaking and the user interface, and I guarantee that will be a recipe for success. Tone down all the graphics effects, and then give us the build, and then I'll go and tell you what it is, because it seems like the engine is stressing when it doesn't need to be stressed in order for this game to be great again. Now, before people ask me, how does Junkfleet look? It ain't looking so good at the moment. As I said before, I believe I said before, Oil Rig is the best looking map in the game right now. Junkfleet, no. It doesn't look good. Everything looks plasticky. Like how I said before that the textures were really good, that is for Oil Rig. But in Junkfleet, the map that is supposed to have the really nice textures, it doesn't. It really doesn't. Everything seems flat and plasticky and matte, and I don't like it at all, to be honest. I don't like Junkfleet at all. I think it's probably one of the worst looking maps right now. But saying that, when you link it to the settings, on some settings it looks a lot better. The settings that I'm running right now, if you hop into a Junkfleet game, it looks like absolute horseshit, but it looks really Oil Rig looks really nice on these settings. But if you go to another set of settings that I have, Junkfleet looks okay, but you go to Oil Rig and it's basically unplayable. It's inconsistent. That's what I want to go and say with the settings, at least. You have to go and run different settings for different maps in order to go and get the optimal result. And it seems like Nexon's gone and painted with a very wide brush and said, okay, these settings are going to be painted across all these maps. And of course, it is in development, and I have to keep saying it over and over again. But these maps, the color schemes, the lighting schemes, they have to be fine-tuned for each map. It seems like they're trying to go and do everything in one big motion, rather than going and breaking it down bit by bit and really focusing on what the map is supposed to look like with this new graphics update. They're just kind of just going and saying, okay, here's a graphics update, let's go and chuck it on there and see what happens. Now, talking about the graphics settings in a little bit more detail, one I really want to go and mention, as I said before at the start of the video, is lighting quality. Lighting quality I currently have on Potato, as you can see on the screen right now. The reason why I have it on Potato is because if you have it on high or you have it on ultra or whatever, the game is a blinding mess. It already is a little bit blinding with the settings I have right now when it is on Potato, but you have it any higher and damn, the game looks extremely bright. Now, in conjunction with that is automatic exposure. Automatic exposure is the global illumination for this Combat Arms update, and it goes and gives, especially the corridors of Oil Rig, it goes and gives it a lot more brightness to it, and that is quite good. If you have it off, everything seems very dingy and very dark, but having everything a lot more darker goes and masks a lot of the flaws. For example, you can see that the walls are pixelated and that colors are not working very right. And of course, you could go and see that in the previous gameplay for sure. In terms of gimmicky effects, I've turned all of them off. Motion blur, of course, that gets disabled. Anti-aliasing, I actually went and gone and chucked that on SMAA 1 times, and it looks pretty good. Anti-aliasing looks decent in this game. Shadow quality, ultra, looks great. Ambient inclusion, I've got that on ultra, looks not too bad. Reflection quality, looking good as well. Like, a lot of settings are meant to be maxed, but a lot of settings are meant to just be completely turned off because they serve absolutely no purpose at all. And I think that is a very big problem, as I mentioned earlier. But again, this is just a first look into the graphics update. There is going to be many patches, many patches, and hopefully a lot of the bugs, including input lag. Half the reason why I'm aiming bad is because my mouse basically isn't working and I'm getting low FPS. I think that can be remedied in the future, of course, through optimizations, and I don't think Nexon would even bother releasing the update to the public unless those really crucial bugs were fixed, including like crashing. Like if you load up the game, then you alt tab, and then you get back into the game, the first game you load into will automatically crash. I've got that like down to 100% consistency right now in terms of bug testing. There's times when textures won't load. But these bugs will be expected in a very new build. I think later on down the line, if these are not fixed, then well, then why bother going and releasing it at all if you're not trying to go and give us the best product possible? Hopefully this gave you guys a little bit of an insight into the graphics update. If you guys want to go and see more videos, make sure to go and click that subscribe button. But other than that, it's Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, out.